Hello, everyone, and welcome to Entertainment 411, your weekly insight into the minds of the people who work in the Canadian entertainment industry. Our goal is to shine a spotlight on those who work in front of and behind the scenes. On today's episode, we'll be chatting with Dennis Andres, who plays the role of Paris in the feature film Juliet and Romeo, which is currently playing in theaters nationwide. Let's take a look at the trailer, and then we will welcome Dennis to the show.
I saw you. You were fighting with the Montagues.
And you? Juliet, daughter of Capulet.
They say the world is spinning round, but you come along and time slows down.
I should properly introduce myself. I'm
Romeo.
I knew that my heart would never beat the same.
Did you not see the look in her eyes? She's changed. It takes a mother to know.
Are you kidding me? A Montague and a Capulet would set the world on fire.
She's not our enemy. Of course she is.
It's like my heart's on fire. So dangerous, so dangerous.
We're to be married. It's been decided.
Not by me.
Every secret, I'm trying to keep us dangerous.
Do you trust me?
Jump!
Just 'cause I'm falling like a I'm falling in love.
Montague. It's a good name. In a different life, maybe love could be your only guide. Just not in this one.
I'd rather die than live without her.
I'm more than the crown I wear. And we're with a
You will stand with this family, or you'll stand alone.
I'm more than the role I play.
You will be the Capulet you've been raised to be.
This mask I wear.
We're running out of time. You're playing with life and death.
This isn't how our story ends, I promise you that.
I'm sure that Romeo knows that tonight I dreamt him.
What now?
It's a mystery.
Wow. Looks very nice, but if I remember my Shakespeare, I don't know if it has a happy ending, but who knows? Maybe there's a twist in this one.
Surprise! It's a mystery.
A mystery wrapped
right.
in enigma. Welcome. Is it Andres? How do you pronounce that?
It's Dennis Andres.
Andres. One Andre was not enough. You had to be
No.
multiple
We
Andres.
needed all of the Andreses.
All of
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome to the show. Last week we interviewed 3 actors from the movie, but you're enough of an actor that we only need one of you today. So,
Yeah, personalities too big. Can't
Too
fit
big.
them all in.
yes, too big. You're big enough for one show yourself. Well, we did have some fun chats before starting recording. We learned that your father. I don't know why we got into Arnold Schwarzenegger's voice, but you said your father is Austrian.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, we were talking about the I don't. I'm showing my age, our age. On the DVDs, we
Right.
had, the special feature stuff at the end of the DVDs, and you were saying that Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing like a like for Total Recall, he was doing like this commentary on the DVD.
Yeah, and
I
it's
was like,
just
it's like growing up with my father because he's Austrian.
yeah. Except you called it Blu-ray extras, so that shows that you're younger than me. Because when I grew up, well, it was VHS, but then DVDs and all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Schwarzenegger was like, "Hey, look, this is the part where I hit her, and then I hit the guy. That was fun." Like he's not really adding anything to it. It's like,
No. He's just it was for anybody seeing impaired. He was like, "This is what I do next."
and now my head comes off, and it was like a robot head, and then and then I throw it at the customs guy, and it blows up.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you look at this angle, you can see my tricep popping.
Oh man, I worked out my triceps that day because I knew it was going to be shooting from that angle. Really wanted to get, you got to have the pump to look good. Yeah, back then the actors were the special effects. I saw a clip of
That's right, yeah.
Lou Ferrigno and the Hulk or whatever. He's like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, like now that would just be CGI. But back then it was like, he's so big, he can be Hercules or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. It was Conan the Barbarian for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then the Incredible Hulk for Lou.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Wild.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Did you have to work out for this movie? Was there a shirtless scene and you had to be buff?
I had to, fortunately for everyone, I had a lot of, they got a lot of really tasty pastries over there in Italy. So fortunately for everybody, I didn't have to take any of my clothes off. And fortunately for myself, my career would be over. There was a lot of stunt rehearsal, a lot of prep and so on and so forth, but I didn't have to look any one particular way. Fortunately for me, Luciano Capozzi's wardrobe hid everything and then I got like a belt as well to just hold it all in. You know what I mean?
No, your
That's
Spanx.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I guess that's what they did. I never saw the new Justice League movie, but Ben Affleck worked out for the first Batman versus Superman, and then he just got fat. So even when there's clearly it was supposed to be a shirtless scene with Gal Gadot like rubbing his back or something, he's still wearing the full armor or like some Spanx kind of thing. He's like, I'm not working out for a year for this shot.
Just put on the body. So it's like, I think it was Dwayne. There's like pictures leaked of is it Moana or something with Dwayne Johnson, and he's wearing like an even bigger Dwayne Johnson body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought that was a joke. I thought the whole point of casting him as the voice was because in real life he's that. But if you have to put on another body on top of him, you could have used me. Like, I don't understand the whole point of that was.
It's just like zooming in on, like you take Dwayne Johnson regular body and then zoom in and then put that body on Dwayne Johnson. That's what
It's just like, it's like a Photoshop trick. Like just, or they could have just shrunk his head. Like, I don't know what they.
Yeah. Probably would have been easier.
Yeah. So every now and then I get little messages in the chat from Charlene, who runs this website and is behind the scenes, and she tries to rein me in with some questions. So she has reminded me, be sure to ask how he got started as an actor. Because I guess our viewers want to learn. Like, if I want to be the Dennis Andres of my generation, like, how do I make this happen?
Man, you know what? I think, and it's probably said 100 times before, it's like, there's no one particular way to do it, obviously, right? Like, what is the phrasing? There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah,
I decided to take the really long route. Sorry, go ahead. I guess.
No, it's just always interesting to hear how you particular did it. Yeah, because there's no this you should do it, but I learned from people's stories and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of like accidentally fell into it. I was always like, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, I was always a bit of a goofball. I tried to crack the jokes. Yeah. No,
what are you talking about?
Yeah. I am not kidding. I kind of always, I don't know. I guess I always tried to go for the laugh, even before I had anything to do with the entertainment or acting or whatever it is that you're kind of going at. I was always like an athlete essentially all growing up. I was always doing sports. I didn't sit still very well. But also the pain in the ass that would crack a joke during class, which the teachers were super fond of.
Yeah.
But then as I guess for lack of a better phrase, my athletic endeavors sort of came to a screeching halt due to like injuries and stuff. I sort of accidentally stumbled into this acting thing. I went to my co-op counselor and I was like, look, like, after, like, because the athletic portion of my life came to an end with the injuries and stuff, and I started.
This is in high school.
It was like a down. Yeah, this is high school, and I played soccer in Berlin. I played football here. I was a martial artist for many, many, many years. I fought competitively, and it kind of came to a pretty abrupt stop when I started, too many concussions and so on and so forth, and then I kind of just went like, marks went downhill, ambition sort of went downhill. And like, I can pretty confidently say it was like a pretty deep depression with like no direction or purpose, and I was sitting in my co-op counselor's office and I was like, I've tried this, I've tried that. And, like all of these things that we thought might be something I could put the hooks into, and none of it came even like close to the same, I guess, gratification or fulfillment that like sports did, for example. And her colleague kind of like peeked her head up from the cubicle, and she's like, "Why don't you try go being a stuntman?" Yeah, one of these like like very very like cartoon, like just like sideways came out of the cubicle, and she's like, "Why don't you try being a stuntman?" And I was like, "Oh, you like it was like it was like fireworks shot out from behind her." Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, I was like, "Oh my, yeah." Of why didn't we think of this before? So I went to the drama teacher and I was like, "Hey, I want to be a stuntman." And she goes, "Well, go audition for the school play. And, you know, every stunt guy or stunt person needs to know how to act a little bit." And I was like, "I don't want to do that. I that sounds awful." And she goes, "Listen, just go audition for the school play." And I was like, "Okay." I went down there, I auditioned, and I ended up booking the lead. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't want to do that.
No, I just wanted to shot out of cannons. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Dropped off.
Want to ride motorcycles and shit. Yeah. So I ended up. I played the lead reluctantly, and fell in love with it. I ended up like building the set and like helping build the set and kind of like organizing this play for the Sears Festival. Have you heard of the Sears Festival?
It sounds familiar. Is that in Canada?
Yeah, it's in Canada. And I'm not overly familiar with it. It was like the first thing that I was, sort of part of. But the Sears Festival, and like we did it, and it's like this big competition amongst like a lot of the other schools and stuff, and they all kind of come together and same thing. Wow. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I kind of like very quickly I was able to sort of put the hooks in, and I was like, okay, purpose, and I kind of moved forward with that. I ended up the drama teacher that I'm speaking of, Debbie Raposa, who, bless her heart, she's amazing. She, with more patience than you could ever imagine, sort of took me under her wing, and she helped me find another co-op at this community theater in Hamilton. It's one of the oldest community theaters, I think, in North America, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. And I was kind of working like as like props and kind of doing all the backstage stuff so that I could see what happens on stage. And I fell in love with it. It was amazing. The people were awesome. And I learned so much. And then my co-op was over and I kind of continued doing it. And it was just something that like I had to do. There was no, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, I got to keep going. And then it got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to audition for a play now. And I did. And I got a supporting part in this amazing farce play with an unbelievably talented group of people. And then from that, it went on to like another play and then another play. And then I was like, okay, I got to make money.
Yeah.
So it's like I love community theater and all, but I got to pay the bills. So I ended up sort of, it was kind of back and forth. I tried to, get some student films, and it was a very, very arduous, raw approach to starting to act, I guess you could say. Is like I didn't do the agent route first. I kind of like scoured the web for student films and short films and independent films and so on and so forth that I could like go and audition for. Somehow I'd like borrow friends' cars, amazing human beings that allowed me to borrow their vehicles to get there, because I sort of I live like 45 minutes outside of Toronto, but if you've ever driven anywhere in the GTA, you're like an hour and a half from anywhere in the GTA. It's super, super traffic dense. So fortunately, I was able to sort of eke my way back into the city over and over again until I'd done enough auditions and I had spoken to enough people that I was able to kind of understand which direction I had to take. And they were like, find yourself a good representative, like an agent or a manager type thing. It's definitely a good way to go. And I got really lucky. I'm still with the manager that, like my first agent / manager that I've ever had. She's still my manager today. So her name's Jessica Martins at Hero Artist Agency. And she has, she's the president, CEO, owner. And she's kind of scratched together this unbelievable team that's constantly just looking out for the well-being of their talent. So if you think you got what it takes, definitely reach out to anybody on the Hero team, because they'll look out for you.
Yeah, because I mean that's what a lot of people are probably trying to figure out. How do I get an agent? And a lot of people say, "How do I start?" And I'm like, my suggestion is
Yeah.
always like, well, kind of do what you did: make content, go act in student films, make your own little films with your
Yeah.
phone, and then you've
Yeah.
got things to show agents, and then maybe they'll want to get on that moving train. You have to show that you have a passion for it and that you're doing it, rather than just, "Hey, look
Yeah.
at me, can I be a like what?" So is
Yeah,
how
yeah,
did
yeah.
you find her? Like, were you messaging all the agents your YouTube links or?
Yeah, so I guess for lack of a better, like I was sort of doing that. I kind of like scratched together anybody that I thought might be interested in representing such a new face, somebody who hasn't really done much. And I went to a few meetings. They kind of all, I don't know, there was no spark, if you will. And then I was kind of like, it was like 1 a.m. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and I remembered I had a friend who modeled professionally. And I messaged him at like 1:30 in the morning, and I was like, "Look, I need a hand. Do you know anybody?" And he's like, "He lived."
That could be
I don't know,
misinterpreted. 1:30
yeah,
in the morning.
He knew.
I knew what you were talking
Hey,
about.
you up? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
No, I was. Yeah. No, I messaged him, and I'm like, I gotta do this thing. I need your help. You know, do you know an agent? And I was expecting him to get back. It was like a Wednesday at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to get back, at some point. And I lived in Hamilton, Ontario at the time. I'm not sure where he lives right now, but he lived in Montreal at the time, and he was originally from Hamilton. And messaged 1:30 like Wednesday, and he messaged within 2 minutes. He messaged me back, and he's like, "I'll be in town Friday. Let's get together for a couple of beers." And I was like, "All right."
Yeah.
And he came over. We had some beers, and he called Jessica, my manager. He called her at like 10:30 at night. She picked up the phone. He's like, "Hey, I got this guy. Got to meet him." And she's like, "All right, sounds good. Send him over Tuesday. Make sure he's got a monologue ready, some headshots, et cetera, et cetera." And I was like, okay. So like, I made sure like I made sure that like I was prepared as I could be to basically just like sell myself. Right. I heard this phrase the other day. It was, it doesn't matter what line of work you're in sales, period. Whether it is whether you're selling yourself, whether you're selling a product, like you're always a salesperson. Period.
Yeah, I feel like it was either Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody like that said,
yeah.
everything is selling. Yeah, it's true. Actually, I work in advertising, writing commercials, but the big thing is selling the script to the client, or when I'm presenting it to the focus groups, or selling yourself. That's
exactly.
What was your monologue that you chose?
Oh man, it was. Oh man, how much time do we have? It was the first monologue I ever learned, and it was a monologue that I learned at an acting class that I didn't want to be at. It was gifted to me. It was before I was an actor. My neighbor, who's one of the sweetest people in the world, he was a retired art teacher, and I did his landscaping for him. He asked me if I could kind of tend to, and he had a very big kind of lavish garden, and I was like, yeah, so I'm like kind of weeding and taking care and pruning and so on and so forth, and he had like statues, the whole 9 yards, and I was like, yeah. And then he was like, listen, I know you got to get your community service hours. Why don't you come to the Theater Aquarius, where I'm an usher? You can be an usher and you can get your community service hours in order to graduate. And I was like, that's a great idea. I didn't really I was still an athlete. I was a football player. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, I just want to graduate with my community service hours. I never in a million years thought that like being an usher at, a theater would get me those, volunteer hours. So he kind of pulled me in. I was the youngest usher by a long shot. But it was kind of wild. Like you go in, and I'd see certain shows I'd see like several times, and I'd be like sitting on the stairs waiting for like intermission to start, like, shining lights and getting people to their seats and stuff. And I'd just be watching these shows from the steps. It's kind of wild now, kind of looking back on it. And then he'd drive me there and back. I was like 14, 15 years old. He'd drive me there and back, and he'd be like, so what'd you think? And I was like, wow. Like, I also again, the theater thing wasn't really like in my wheelhouse. I just really kind of enjoyed watching the shows, but I was like, all right, get me back on the football field.
Yeah.
And he's like, so what'd you think? And I was like, oh yeah, it was great. It was awesome. It was really thank you so much, while simultaneously it was very impressive. But I'm going to go back to playing sports now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I guess he took that and he's like, I'm gonna massage this love of art now, right?
Oh, you love theater, do you? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was just being polite.
yeah. So for my birthday, because him and I had now, like, I'd tend to his, yard, and he would, drive me back and forth to Theater Aquarius, to Usher. So we kind of developed this, friendship. And for my birthday, he gifted me acting classes. And my mom was like, "You're never going to guess what Tom got you for your birthday." And I'm like, "Tom got me something for my birthday?" And she goes, "There you go." And I was like, it's like a 9-week acting course. And I was like, I'm not fucking doing this.
No.
And she's like, yeah.
Football camp. No. I wanted football camp.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm a practice. And she's like, "You're going." And I was like, oh, God. So I went reluctantly, much like the play. Yeah. I went, and it was like strange in the best and like worst way for somebody who was like wasn't prepared for what was going on in acting classes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And towards the latter half of the acting class, they provided me with this monologue it was a monologue from a play called The Crack Walker, which is a really, really forward name. Yeah. It had nothing to do with walking on cracks. I don't think. I never actually had the opportunity to kind of read the entire play. But my acting teacher was basically like, he curated each monologue to like every person in the class. And he's like, "I want you to have this one." He's like, "I don't want you to worry about the rest of the play. I just want you to read this, interpret it how you will, and then present it." So I'm reading this, and I was like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, okay. Right. So he had us like running through the theater while like screaming out our monologue as like a way to sort of like retain the information and stuff. Mm. And eventually it was memorized. And then on the very last day, they had us present our monologue to the rest of the class, and he would sort of, tell us how we did. And it was like the first time. And again, like I didn't really have anything to do with acting. Like acting wasn't really it was sort of, okay, I'll do this class, and I'm still just going to act like a buffoon sort of thing. Right. And so I did my monologue, and it was like the first time I really understood what acting actually was. Mm. And I was sort of sitting in the chair presenting my monologue, and you kind of, if you're doing it right, you forget you're on set. Mm-hmm. If you're doing it right, you forget there's an audience. If you're doing it right, you forget there's cameras, there's lights, there's this, there's that. If you're doing it right, it feels like you're just living a life. Mm-hmm. And that happened. And I finished, and I was like, oh, okay. And I'm looking up, and there's like a couple people weeping and stuff, and I was like, holy shit, wild. And and we kind of like, it was like a sort of like it was like a mini rap party amongst, your classmates and stuff. And I'm still sort of like processing what happened. And the teacher comes up to me afterwards, and he goes, "Hey man, great job. I just want to say thank you." And I'm like, "For what?" And he's like, a lot of times you catch guys like you on, football fields making fun of people like us. And you're in here with us sort of thing, like in the weeds. And I was like, well, thank you for, not doing that to me in here. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. And it was like that first initial introduction into sort of like what I guess this industry entails. Wow. And I left, and I went back onto the football field, but like it always sort of stuck with me. You know what I mean? I never really left. And then it was sort of like in hindsight, because what is it? Life only makes sense in reverse. In hindsight, like looking back on all of it was always sort of meant like I always sort of got pulled back to, no matter how hard I fought it, no matter how many times I wanted to quit, none of those things. It just kind of always brought me back to, this is sort of where I belong in a weird way. It was like, I didn't want to do acting classes, but they were a gift. I didn't want to, I wanted community service hours as an usher watching theater. And then, it just kept going back to the same thing. And if you take a look at it in reverse, you're like, yeah, okay. It makes sense that I'm here doing what I'm doing. Yeah. If you take a look at all of the other things that like I never even intentionally sort of set up in my life, right?
Interesting. I'll bet there's a lot of people that are frustrated. Like, that they want to act. They've always wanted it. They're trying to make it. And here's like, you fighting it, but you still wind up in movies and everything. So, but you never know. And yeah, I mean, it's a tough business, and a lot of people go into it.
Oh
and
my God.
I don't know. So I've gotten a secret message from behind the scenes
Another
again.
one.
Yes. What
Beautiful.
initially
All right.
drew you to the role in the musical film Juliet and Romeo? I guess we have to put in some, because we're supposed to be promoting the movie or something.
Yeah.
We got to talk about
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah. Back to that. Okay.
But I mean, yeah. So I mean, I guess so. Where did we leave your life story there? You signed up with? Is it Jessica? What was her name? Your agent?
Yes, Jessica Martins. Yep,
Yeah, Jessica Martins.
She's borderline family at this point.
And how much of a gap between Jessica takes you on because your model friend called her between that and this movie?
Yeah, I've been with Jessica 15 years, 16 years. Been a long time.
So you're not like 22
It's
years old or something.
At the time. No. At the time, I think when I met Jessica, I was about 22, 23, and about 15 years now. And wild to think about it. So it's been, as you were saying, it's a really tough industry. It's been 15 years, and now we're in this room.
Yeah. I guess if we had multiple podcasts with you, we could go through your whole life story. But I am looking at your IMDb, and it's like, he gained recognition for his stand-up performance and Netflix's. You were in Working Moms in 2017, and then 3 of the top 10 Netflix projects. So you've done some stuff. All right.
A couple of things, yeah. I've been very lucky to have a lot of different, like a very broad, I guess, resume, if you will. There's lots of different kinds of characters which brings me full circle, I guess, back to which the voice from the chat room kind of started on. What drew me, obviously, for I guess anybody that's, I mean, any actor that I've met, I can't say that every actor, but any actor that I've met, if they have an opportunity to be in a story that's been either like inspired by or written by or stems from the root of William Shakespeare, you're like, okay, like where I sign on the dotted line, that sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I heard Romeo and Juliet, and I was like, let's go. And then I sat down with Tim Bogart, the writer-director of Juliet and Romeo, and I was like, you want to do what? You want to make this a musical? I'm like, I can't sing. It was sort of like my first. I was like, but I'm gonna try. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. We don't want you to sing. We've heard an attempt. Yeah. I joke around. I'm like, I can dance. I'm a ballerina, but only in my bathroom. And I guess I was sort of like thrown off that you would take Romeo and Juliet from William Shakespeare, turn it into Juliet and Romeo, and then make it like big, bold, beautiful, very colorful, like fireworks, ribbons. These, like, the set was designed by Dante Ferretti, who did Sweeney Todd, so it was a very very vibrant set. And before I even got on set, I was sitting down with Tim, and we were kind of going over like the ideas and stuff that he had for Lord Paris, and I was like, okay. And you can like the way that he explained it and the passion that he had behind this version of the story and what it would entail. It didn't take much to be like, okay, yeah, I'd like to be a part of that vision. I'd like to be, I want to see that passion and, in full force on set, sort of thing. And then it was intriguing in a sense that, like, you take somebody like Lord Paris, or originally Count Paris, and he's softer around the, like, he's got like soft guardrails, and I guess you could say he was a bit aloof to like in the original story, what Juliet was like, her feelings and what she wanted, you know what I mean? So he was kind of not, he was the opposite of kind of who I am. So when Tim was like, hey, listen, we're going to take a different approach with this Lord Paris character, and he gave it like, it was a more boisterous, a little more bravado, still a romantic in his own right, but just different, like a little bit more meat to the character. I was like, yeah, okay, that's essentially how I saw him too. And with this new version, it allowed us to kind of navigate that territory on not such treacherous waters, if you will. And because him and I saw eye to eye so quickly, I was hoping that I could take that character, and because he had so much to sort of navigate with, like the grandiose aspects of this entire thing, like big castles and all these, like you got music and you got dancing and you got to have all these things come together. I'm like, I just want to make sure that you and I are on the same page so that I can do my part and you don't have to worry about me. I can just show up and you're like, I can trust Dennis to do his bit because I have so much other stuff to worry about. So what intrigued me about the character is it was a bit of a different approach. And what I liked was him and I were on the same page basically right out of the gate.
And so, okay, so Lord Paris is an existing character in the actual play, but he was beefing up the character a bit for this. And I get, is that the guy that Juliet's supposed to marry? Were you in the trailer?
That's correct.
And you're like, you're marrying me. And she's like, I don't want to, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. As they always do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it reminds me of, I mean, there's movies like that, obviously. Like, I guess First Night, where Sean Connery is King Arthur, and the woman's supposed to marry him, but she's like, I don't want the old guy. I want Richard Gere, or Billy Zane in Titanic, or whatever.
That's right. Yeah,
one that how's that make you feel? The one that the woman does not want to marry. It's like, oh God, I'll do anything.
The bruised ego.
Yeah,
exactly.
When they were casting, they're like, hey, we need somebody that a woman would absolutely not want to be with, and you're like, that's me.
Yeah, this guy right here, the Bass Pro Shop special.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool though. That it sounds like they were wooing you. It wasn't just like, please, everybody would want to be in a movie, but he had to sort of sell you on it. Like they decided,
no, not at all.
I don't mean that, but it sounds like you had to work together. I don't know. Like I wouldn't.
It was just. I guess the easiest way to say it is like I was sort of thrown off of shaking up William Shakespeare to that degree. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, whoa, you want to do what? It wasn't so much like, hey, Dennis, I think you should do this. It was probably more so, if anything, hey, Tim, I really should be the one to be doing this. I think Tim just saw what I brought to the table and he was like, okay, I think that'll work for Paris. And I saw Tim and heard what he had to say about the story and Paris. And I was like, it's going to be great. But yeah, no, it didn't take much to convince me. Yeah. I was on board probably before he was on board.
But I guess, yeah, like as somebody, I would kill to be in any movie or whatever, but I mean, you're a working actor, you've done a lot of top things, so you have to be on board as well, because this is going to be months of your time and travel, so you're not just going to sign up for anything, because, they want to cast me in that, like, it's,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, no, yeah, and to your point, and I mean, anybody that works in this industry, predominantly, I'm speaking on as an actor more so than a filmmaker at this point, although I'm sure filmmakers as well. There's a lot of like bread and butter work that we have to do in order to get to a point where we can actually be like, yeah, or no, I don't think that works so well. You know what I mean? Because like at the end of the day, we got to put a roof over our families' heads. We got to put food on the table. And I mean, it's tough, especially like with, COVID and then the writer-actor strike and that having such a heavy impact on Canadian film and TV. It hits a point where like, if you are the kind of person who can say yes or no, or that is for me or that isn't for me, like if you're that performer, count your lucky stars. You know what I mean? So I'm very fortunate that like I spent many years working very hard to make sure that I can say yes and no to certain things, but Paris was certainly not one that I was going to shy away from.
Yeah, and then you see all these stories of, like, I just saw a video of Ethan Hawke talking about how he turned down Independence Day, because that sounds corny. Or you always you hear about Will Smith turning down Neo in The Matrix. He's like, I don't get this, and then they're like, oh no,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough to decide.
I couldn't imagine. I hear stories like that sometimes, and I'm like, oh my, like when that was it. I think Gary Oldman was originally approached about Sweeney Todd. And he has a similar story where he read it and he was like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he went, and then Johnny Depp ended up doing it, and he went to see the movie, and he said within 2 minutes of watching, he's like,
Oh.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And now, like, you can't imagine anybody but, Johnny Depp as Sweeney Todd. You can't imagine anybody but Keanu Reeves as Neo. You can't, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. Yeah.
But you don't know. I mean, a script is a script until you see it on the screen, right? So, I mean, you hear about Sean Connery turning down Gandalf because I just don't understand it, But Will Smith was absolutely sure that Wild Wild West was the way to go. He didn't want to give that up for The Matrix. But who knows? Would have been a different movie with him. Maybe crap. We don't know.
Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine. They originally, I think, they had somebody in mind for Morpheus that wasn't Lawrence Fishburne too. I think, right?
Probably. Yeah, that's right. I feel like I heard a story of. I can't remember. Yeah, somebody. I mean,
I couldn't imagine. That's another one where it's like I couldn't imagine, and I guess like that's what like in a way I guess that's what makes like a really great actor, somebody who takes a part, and then you couldn't imagine anybody but that person in that part. Like I couldn't imagine another Morpheus other than Lawrence Fishburne, right?
Yeah, there's a website here. Actors who almost played the main characters. So there's a whole thing here. Neo.
Oh, yeah?
We know that story. Morpheus. All right. Lawrence Fishburne took it. At the time, he didn't understand why others found the script confusing. Russell Crowe turned it down. Yeah,
Whoa.
all right. Yes. Yeah. Samuel L. Jackson and Gary Oldman were also considered. Speaking of Gary Oldman.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Motherfucking
Neo.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Actually, they just made a video. Oh, yeah, okay. They recently there's a rap video out now where Will Smith is playing Neo in it. Like, it's sort of seeing what he would look like in that role kind of thing. I forget
That's hysterical.
The thing is. Yeah, so whatever. But now there's not going to be an alternate universe where, Dennis Andres turned down Lord Paris.
Paris,
So,
yeah.
You're the guy.
I'm glad I'm not at a place in my life where I have to look at something like Independence Day and be like, oh, I should have done that. But again, it's like I couldn't imagine anybody. I just recently rewatched Independence Day because it's such a great film, and just like the way that Will Smith is like when he's like ship all banged up and he's like trying to get off of the chute and he's like going, oh, welcome to Earth, and I think that's where the Ethan Hawke was like, welcome to Earth. He's like, if this isn't said right, this is going to be stupid. And then Will Smith delivers the line and you're like how could you, when you read the script and you see like welcome to Earth and then you see Will Smith do it, you're like, yeah, okay. It's like Ethan Hawke had like that Gary Oldman movie where he's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the clip I saw, it was the line like "ET phone home" or something, and Ethan Hawke was saying, when I read that, I was in a car, I threw the script out the window on the Arizona highway. I can't even imagine doing even that's just littering. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know.
A lot of pages to.
Yeah, I don't know if that was his role though. Ethan Hawke's more of a. I don't know. Yeah, he's not like the tough. I don't picture him as welcome to Earth, bitch.
Yeah. You know what though? I got a tip. Like as far as like the tough guy thing goes, I got a tip. The Training Day, he crushed in Training Day.
Right.
Job.
With Denzel Washington, all of that, right?
So I mean,
find your part.
Just holding your own with Denzel playing that character, wild.
Yeah, I'd be on side, be like, there's no point in me being here. I just do your thing.
Yeah. Why don't we give all my lines to him?
Yeah, he'll sit and play both. Like exactly, or give it to a cardboard cutout. Like there's nothing.
That's right.
There's no point.
I think Terry Crews was talking about that. I think it was like in an interview. He was talking about like, could you imagine? Like, especially like he was very new to film at the time, and he was an extra, I think, on set when he was doing the like King Kong ain't got shit on, and you got like Terry Crews like new to film. Denzel's like, Denzel's been at the height of his career for years, but I mean like you get Denzel in that part screaming at everybody around him, and you're just like I couldn't even imagine what that would like. You get goosebumps just like being present in that, right?
Yeah, and then how do you make an acting choice? Well, I've got an idea for this scene. I'm going to do this. Like what?
Like yeah. Exactly. That's one of those moments where you're like, you know that guy he forgot the cameras were around. Like in that moment, Denzel was like, he's looking around. He's like, there was no cameras, there was no lights, there was just that moment. He was living that moment for sure.
That's awesome. So this is a musical. Were you asked? So you didn't sing at all, but are there any specific stories or behind the scenes moments that relate to being in a musical or something that was particularly challenging that made this different from other things you did?
Well, I mean, like I love musicals and I love acting. A lot of people don't understand that with acting in a musical, you're not just singing, you're acting while you're singing. And that's a very, very different beast to navigate. Convincingly acting while singing lyrics to a point where the audience buys it, that is a beast I'm not familiar with as far as like applying it within myself. Now, that being said, one of these days I would love to be that guy, because I'll always be in awe of it, and I think as like a goal within my career, I think it'd be really nice to kind of get to a point in my career where I can do that after many, 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 many singing lessons and many, 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 many auditions.
Yeah.
And like at some point, I hope to be able to do that. For this particular film, I was joking around. I was like, well, it's called Juliet and Romeo, not Juliet in Paris. And if I had sung, it would have been Juliet in Paris, and we just can't have that. That would be throwing the machine too much on its head. No, I very much found that my character's place within this film was sort of the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess bringing, like, my character was sort of like the anchor that allowed the music to happen, but still it was like the motivation
or
the helium balloon on the string, right? I was like everybody loves the helium balloon on the string, right? And I was just kind of like that counterweight.
You're the ball of sand at the bottom when you put them around the wedding.
Yes, right. So you have this like beautiful stuff. There's this like you've got all this beautiful dancing, and they did such a great job. The Koopman brothers and Jordan, they did such a great job choreographing all of these different dances and so on and so forth. It's like if you don't have like the sort of like the reality kind of keeping it still like grounded,
right.
I feel like it's almost like too much where you're trying to catch the helium balloon, right? You're like, right,
yeah.
With as with anything, right? If you take like, I don't want to compare it necessarily to other movies, but if you take certain movies that are musicals, you need to have the grounding within that in order to be able to like relate to it, and really like latch on and root for the characters and so on and so forth. And I find that like even within a musical, you need that portion of it, and I think that was sort of my job, in a sense.
Which is
I
interesting.
like to think so.
It's almost like your job in life. Like you were the football kid who came into the drama class going, all right, I got to do this because I got a concussion. And they're like, you're great. And you're like, what are you talking about? What is going on here? And it's kind of like that's you in the movie. They threw you in with the drama kids and you're like, okay, I'm going to marry this girl. It's like, no, I'm not going to marry you. I'm going to marry this guy. It's all this.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So
bruised ego.
Yeah. And so we're going to look at 2 short promos for the film, just to maybe we'll keep our eyes out for you in those, and then we'll come back and chat some more.
I love it.
I saw you.
Juliet, daughter of Capulet. I'm
Romeo.
Just 'cause I'm falling tonight don't mean
You will be the Capulet you've been raised to be.
Jump!
what now?
It's a mystery.
Hello, I'm Rebel Wilson.
I'm Jason Isaac.
We're in a film called Juliet and Romeo.
Some might say it's the musical event of the summer.
It's out on Mother's Day.
Hi to all the mothers out there. If you like love stories, if you like musicals, this movie's probably for you guys.
So go and have a lovely time. Treat your mum, treat yourself.
So nice. Maybe there'll be a stage production of it and you can like be on the stage doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Singing this time.
Yeah. Give me a song. Well, you've got
somebody else will be the sandbag.
You've got a guitar behind you. Like, I'm not going to make you play right now, but do you sing and play, or is that just like to impress women? Like, oh yeah, I got a guitar.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's to impress myself. No, I played. I haven't touched it in longer than I care to admit. I it's you gotta figure out the time to like actually like rebuild the callus on your fingertips. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't have the patience. You know what I mean? So it's like I love it. I want to get back into it, but then it's like you also have to pay the bills and make sure that you get all the life stuff in, and then when you do have time, you don't want to wake anybody up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you gotta like pull yourself into the basement or the garage or something. Which
Do you have a
Canada,
family?
I don't recommend the garage.
Are you a wife and kids, or what do you got?
Yeah, I found somebody that manages to put up with my bullshit,
Oh.
and we have a beautiful 2-month-old daughter as of tomorrow.
2 months.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So you are keeping. How did you meet your? Not that this has anything to do with this website or anything, but how did you meet your partner?
Oh my gosh, we met years and years and years ago. We were actually best friends first, and she was like, "I wanna kind of make this official," and I was like, "Really? Are you sure? I don't know. You're my friend. I couldn't imagine jeopardizing."
Yeah,
the friendship that we have, and then I
don't want to be an actor. I'm a football guy. What do you? I don't want to be.
I'm like the salmon, always going upstream. I was gonna pick the hard, as opposed to just listening to her and being like, "Oh, this could be a really great idea." It was more. I was a little resistant to it until I was like, "Wait a minute, I see what's going on here. You could potentially be the best thing that's ever happened to me." Or I could fuck this up really bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that'll be your matrix. So you'll see her with someone else. Like, I could have married her, and I turned that down because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't have a great track record. You know what I mean? And I was very fortunate that somebody was able to sort of see past all of my flaws and actually like me because of my flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of got out of my own way and opened up my. It was like looking through like a telescope, and then you kind of back off a little bit, and your peripheral kind of opens up, and you're like, I see what I'm doing wrong, and I see what I've been doing wrong this entire time. And I guess it's like you gotta. What is it? There's no growth in comfort. So I kind of had to like.
I'm sure that was Tony Robbins too, or something.
Yeah,
that's how you build.
I'm just hijacking. Right? Well, that's it, right? Yeah. That's how you do it.
That's how you do it. You have to break down the muscle, and then it grows back.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no. So I found, and I guess like if there's anything that I can say to anybody is find somebody that likes you for your flaws, because that goes a hell of a lot further than anything else does.
I know.
So I found somebody that likes me, even though I'm really fucking annoying.
I had a lot of those in my life, and I kept breaking up. I'm like, no, I'm not ready to commit. And then they go off and get married to somebody else, and you regret it for the rest of your life. So I'm glad you didn't make that mistake. But I can imagine you going, you know what? I've broken a lot of girls' hearts. I'm kind of a jerk. I don't want to. I actually like this woman. I wouldn't do that to her. Please don't make me ruin your life. But she's no, we're doing it.
Yeah, I just don't think I'm everybody's cup of tea, I guess, except hers. She seems to think I'm all right. And everybody else was like, this actor guy, where's the financial security in that?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's like you're hitching yourself on this wagon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's like, this has nothing but bad news written all over it. I think my mom being a very pragmatic German woman was like, I always joke around. I'm like, my mom being a German woman is like the equivalent to being a male Canadian shot putter. And my mom has this very like, Dennis, with a German accent, Dennis, I don't blame these girls for leaving you. I was like, thanks, Mom. And then I found somebody who was like, it's overrated. I like you anyway.
That's good. We all need that one woman in the rom-com that's like, you know what, we're doing this. I'm like, really? We shouldn't break up? No. It's like, all right. She just makes it easy. You're just like, I'm just going to go with this river. I'm going to let her.
Yeah. Find somebody. Here's Tony Robbins' line. Ready? Find somebody that cares about your passions more than you care about your passions.
Oh God, I would love that. Somebody be like, I love that you're doing your podcast and you're doing your little music and your cartoons. I'm supportive.
Your little music.
Yeah. I write little songs, little love songs and stuff, and I put them on my TikTok
that.
and Spotify now. And I'm like, I gotta blow this up. I call myself Spark the Genius on TikTok. And do you like that name? I want that to be my actor name. Yeah.
This hashtag Spark. For everybody that's listening, Josh is getting better at posting on TikTok and so on and so forth. He admitted to me before all this started that he was bad at posting.
Oh, right. I was saying, it's like I haven't posted for a few months, and I've been waiting till I can turn to a U.S. account. It's not working, and also it takes an hour to post got to post. I've signed up for like these Chinese apps and Indian apps, so there's like 15 apps I got to post everything on.
Oh
my
God!
I need to hire a team. But anyways, we have this is hot off the presses. This is very exciting. We've just received a clip of one of your scenes in Juliet and Romeo, and let's look at it, and then we'll decide if we should have even done this interview.
Yeah, probably not.
So, who are you? Who are you? Come here! Come here!
Excuse me! Coming through!
Come on, let's go! Come on!
Stop! Let's stop!
She'll never be yours.
Nice. You are a jerk.
yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe you're misunderstood. I mean, if somebody's trying to steal your wife, like maybe you shouldn't be all happy.
It was an act of passion. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're a football player, so you got to use your tackle skills. Or, I mean, you wanted to be a stuntman back in the day. Now, do you have a stuntman, or were you doing your own stunts?
I was doing my own stunts,
Okay,
which was it was a lot of fun. We spent about 4 weeks. I think we spent doing like the different fight scenes and choreography, rehearsing everything for about a month in Rome before we started shooting in like the castles in more northern Italy.
Wow, it's kind of rough having to rehearse in Rome for a month and then shoot in castles in Italy. You're like,
it was a drag. Yeah, it was painful. No, I mean, it was obviously amazing, especially in like a day and age where you have a lot of special effects, a lot of green screen.
Yeah, this could have been a green screen in Mississauga, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So when they they put these like 14th century wardrobes on you designed by Luciano Capozzi, and you've got these beautiful old castles in Italy and feed you a few espressos and set you free.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? That's obviously, but I mean, don't get me wrong. It was also
work.
It was cold. Like we were shooting over winter, right? And like the ward, like you've got hot shots kind of like everywhere. You're kind of stuck to your shirts and in your shoes and stuff, right?
Wow.
It's like yeah, it can get pretty cold in certain parts of Italy during the winter, and yeah, that was especially like even like you leave set and you get back to wherever it is you're staying, and they live on tiles, and they don't. They have like you're on this like eco kick, so they don't want to like turn the heat up for too long during the day either. So you're kind of just like hoodie, slippers, and you're kind of trying to keep warm with coffees and stuff, right? So it definitely. And then we were shooting. I think it was like 90%, 95% it was nights, and they were very cognizant of the whole COVID era, right? So they were like, okay, so try not to like hang out too much, because if you do hang out, make sure you're smart about it, that sort of thing. Because if you guys do get COVID, it'll screw with the schedule. People inevitably got COVID, so it did screw with the schedule. So it turned into this thing where you go to bed at 4 a.m. regardless of whether you're shooting or not. And you find out like the next day if you're on the next day, because people's schedules are getting so mashed around with the COVID situation, right? So if like you're basically just living at night, and then in Italy, especially like when you're in kind of like the more remote towns, in the winter they fold up the sidewalks for the day, right? So you can like look out the window or go outside, and there's just like nothing happening.
Wow.
And you like you kind of it sort of felt like the beginning of COVID all over again, where you'd like look outside and like everybody was afraid to leave their homes for a bit. It was sort of like that. And then they'd be like, "Hey, you're working the next day," and you're like, "Oh my god, people!" And you're like, "All right, sweet." So you go and see. So fortunately, where they had put us up, we'd still see one another, but we just had to be smart about how much time or where we spent time together because people were still catching COVID at the time.
Yeah, no more than 4 people in the room, or
Exactly. Sort of that sort of thing.
Oh my god, that does sound like a nightmare because it's not even healthy to be up all night, like till 4 a.m. and then sleep during the day, like just physically. People
and, like,
die.
It's
night shifts and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. My hat goes off to everybody that works nights, and like you hear stuff like Game of Thrones, for example. They had the Night King battle, and it was like 55 straight days of night shoots.
Ugh.
And I'm like, and that's like high octane shooting. You know what I mean? Like you're getting dirty, you're running around swinging a sword. You know what I mean? Like there's so much happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm waiting to find out when I work next. And I found it like it got trying at times, right? And you're like, wow, I couldn't imagine doing 55 high octane days of night shoots.
No.
And then like try to stay sane through that. You know what I mean? So it was, it definitely didn't, it came with its challenges, but it was obviously like, if anybody were to be like, hey, do you have any regrets or would you do it again? Yeah, in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do background acting. Like I went viral because I was in Hot Frosty on Netflix, and a woman on TikTok posted my background acting. But that was a night scene till 3 a.m. Everybody's like, "Oh, we're so tired." And then whenever I see jobs posted, night shoot, I'm like, no. And
Maybe
it's not.
not.
It's going to be me in a party scene sitting doing nothing. I'm like, that'll mess me up for the next day. So I don't know. I don't know how you guys are doing it. As an actor, you've appeared in 29 episodes of the TV series Workin' Moms. What advice would you give to actors preparing for their first TV series or film role?
Oh, wow. What advice would I give? I think the best advice that I can give to anybody doing it for the first time is be over prepared. It's sort of like the same thing as it is with a lot of other things. I'm going to go on a limb and say, besides maybe being, like a surgeon or something, learn everything about your job, like your lines, sort of like you don't get a lot of like rehearsal time, for example, with a lot of this stuff, right? For anybody who hasn't done it, a lot of people know that that's the case. A lot of the stuff that we do, you kind of like work out and massage on the fly. So the more prepared you are with your own dialogue, with your choices, with where you think your character would be in XYZ scenario and so on and so forth, the more if like the director's like, hey, listen, we've had a rewrite, or hey, listen, I've decided to change this, or hey, listen, we had to, the more prepared you are, the less you stress about making some pivots and changes and so on and so forth, right? There's filmmakers, they rewrite entire days on the day before you hit the camera. So like the more you like, the better you know your character, the better you know the lines that were originally there for you, the direction you were going, and so on and so forth, the easier it is to kind of like pivot. So my advice to you is just be as prepared as you could possibly be, and then sort of go into it very malleable. Don't let pivots and shifts and, contingency plans shake you as an actor and what you do for a living. Your job is to be prepared for the inevitable. Be prepared to get fucking sent home. Do you know what I mean? I was, again, I was in Italy. We were shooting Juliet and Romeo. And I went to set, I got dressed, and I sat there for another actress that I worked with. Same thing. We sat there all night. Didn't touch the set one time.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared for that too, because that is a lonely night when you're just sitting there kind of doing nothing. So make sure you have a cell phone charger. You know what I mean? Make sure you're prepared to sit. Make sure you're prepared to Do what, like if they're like, hey, we need you right away, be prepared for that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be prepared that your job is to be prepared, know your shit, and be able to get up quickly and do what's necessary to do your part of the job. There's a lot of moving wheels, right? There's a lot going on. Renting cameras is expensive. Buying cameras, you know what I mean? Like it costs a ton of money to make one of these films, or it costs a ton of money. And it's like a lot of people coming together to try and do the same thing. What was it? Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. It's like one of the most famous Indiana Jones stories there is. He got food poisoning.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. In the one, he got food poisoning, and he was supposed to have this like huge fight scene
with the guy with the big sword.
It was big, and he had food poisoning, and he was Ralphing every 5 minutes, and he was like, "Can I just shoot the guy?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, be prepared for that. Be prepared to rehearse a fight scene for like a week, 2 weeks, and then have that thing axed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like your job is to be prepared so that you can help drive and propel the story forward in the best way possible, to be the smallest headache of all the headaches that come along with, shooting a film or a show.
Yeah.
Do your job really well, and then also be prepared that I shot a film. I can't believe it's one of the wildest things I've ever heard. I shot a film in Montreal. Very small part. I had the opportunity to work with Kit Harington and Jessica Chastain.
Jesus.
And I was in part of the film. It was a very small part. I'm not pumping up my tires at all here. It was a very small part. But I had an opportunity to work with Kit Harington on the day, and it was one of the parts that Jessica Chastain was in. The final edit of the film, well, maybe not the final. The initial edit of the film was like 4.5 hours long.
Was that Peter, like that weird gothic horror film, or is that something else?
No, I don't think so. That was The Death and Life of John F. Donovan.
Okay.
Okay.
But
it was directed by Xavier Dolan. Okay. No, that was Molly. It was directed by Xavier Dolan, and when I like, this is wild. Okay, think about this for a second.
Yeah.
When the film came out, I was told that the film was too long, so they had to cut out Jessica Chastain's part entirely.
Wow.
And that was the part I was in, so I never ended up making the cut of the film. But like, could you, like, when you can say we had to cut out Jessica Chastain's part of your film, you know what I mean? You're like, what? Like, how does that?
Yeah.
So even if you're Jessica Chastain,
right,
you have to be prepared for the fact that you show up prepared to do your job very well.
Yeah.
To even Jessica Chastain could potentially end up out of the cut.
Yeah.
Which is like just wrapping your head around that is wild. You know what I mean? But so that's your job, is just be prepared in every sense of the way as best as you can be, and try to not be a pain in the ass while you're at it.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. Like, just make, like, even as a background actor, make everyone's job easier. Don't make the assistant director mad at you. Just be on time, dress like you're supposed to dress, act professional, go to the bathroom when you have a chance, so that they're not calling you and like, oh, you're in the bathroom now? Like, now you're making troubles. Don't get noticed is the job. Mm-hmm. But I listened to an episode of Gary Vee last night. He was interviewing this woman, I forget, some Indian woman who
Gary Vee.
Yeah, and she started doing stand-up at age 45 when she was 5 years ago, and now she's like opening for Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, and she had a deal. She has a sitcom. They shot a pilot, and 5 different networks were bidding on it. She sold it to the top one, and then at the last second they said, we're not going to air it. And she was crying on this episode, and he's like, when did you find out? She's like, 24 hours ago. And he's like, you got to just move on. Like, he said his secret is just being resilient. He gives himself a very short window to go, oh, damn it. And then he moves on, because there's no benefit to dwelling or anything, right?
I shot, this was sort of like my introduction, if you will, into working in the US. I shot a pilot in the US. So first and foremost, like, booking as a Canadian actor, the first time you book in the US, or like you go there for like a chemistry read or something like that, you're like, holy shit, right? Like this is wild, because like it very much, like, while you're on set, it's still very similar to the way that it is here, but everything is bigger, right? Like the numbers are bigger, the stars are, all that bullshit. So I went to LA. I did the chemistry read, wild, mind blowing. Came home, went back, booked the part during for the chemistry read, went back and shot, and then as like somebody at the time who I had like 1,200 followers on Instagram, and I had done the other show and Working Moms, and so I shot the pilot. I come home, and then you sit there for like 2 months and wait to find out if this thing gets greenlit or not.
Oh,
now
wow.
you're talking about a show that, if it gets greenlit, and if they decide not to recast my part with somebody who's more famous than me, you take a look at that. Pray to God in 2 months you don't find out that they've replaced you. A. B. It gets greenlit or not. And I had somebody in the U.S. represent me at the time, and he called me from New York, and he was like, "Have you been reading the news?" And I go, "Yep." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, so I guess like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, there's a bunch of people talking about this particular pilot getting greenlit. And like the numbers that they were tossing around as far as like what you get paid and so on and so forth. This was all like very new to me, but I was like, wild. This could change everything for me. Right?
I could get a new wife.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. Nobody out there wants me. So they sort of like showed the numbers, what would happen, how many episodes, if it gets greenlit, like they give you this like list, and then you got like all these different news outlets that are like definitely getting greenlit. How could it not get greenlit? This is a sure shot. You know what I mean? And it's just like the list goes on, and all of a sudden you get this like, oh my god, and then you get a phone call from New York, and they're like, "You reading?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Stop." And I was like, "Oh, why?" And he goes, "If this doesn't get greenlit, how are you going to feel?" And I was like, never thought about that. And then I was on a flight, and I was coming home, and like the plane was landing, phones get turned back on. Ba-ding, 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 ba-ding. Sorry, we didn't get greenlit. And I was like, thank God he called me.
Yeah.
And was like, "Hey, take a step back, take a breath, stop banking on this." And like, that is also your job as an actor, is to, this is like Bryan Cranston, I think, said this. I can't take credit for anything I say, apparently. You're
job curator as of smart things.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm the vault for like a bunch of, yeah. I just, he said one of the things that helped him sort of overcome, because I had this, man, again, how much time do we have?
I could ask Charlene. Like, she has one more question about,
about the film, yeah. I had this thing where I was like, oh, I'm not going to start a family until I'm at this stage of my career.
Oh, never do that.
And exactly. And I was shooting a Netflix film at the time, and I was working with an actor who, he was older than me, and he had a family, and he's worked with the top. Like this gentleman is a very well-known actor, and we got along really, really well right out of the gate. A lot of like similar interests, so on and so forth. And we were shooting the shit, and he's like, "Do you have a family?" And I was like, No, not yet. I think, when I get to this part. And he's like, "Don't do that." He's like, "If you have somebody that you're in love with, somebody that you love, that loves you, if you have a good, healthy, good quality relationship, start as soon as you can." And it was like in that moment where I'm like, listen to the people who've done it, even if it's like not necessarily like advice that like is directly like catering to what your life consists of. Just listen. And it was like in that moment, I just started like listening more. I mean, contrary to popular belief, because all I've been doing is talking, but like I started listening more, and I found that I got so much more out of that. So, you start to hear little things like Bryan Cranston saying, your job as an actor is to audition. That is your job. You're not trying to get a job. Auditioning is smart. Your job.
That's the only thing you can control. Yeah.
And this is part of like why I started writing, and you know what I mean? I'm starting to like, I had to kind of take my creative process by the horns and navigate my own career a little bit, because I felt so much that I was at the mercy of somebody deciding of whether I was right for the part or not. And I loathed that feeling.
No.
I hated that feeling. So when I started, and another bit of advice that I heard recently, if you're bitching about shitty scripts, you better also be writing.
Yes, don't complain unless you're doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was that guy. I was like, how is this getting greenlit?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was stuff like that. And I was like, it's not my fucking decision. It's not up to me of whether XYZ gets greenlit or not. It's my job to not bitch, continue creating as a creator, continue creating, go forward, tell the stories that you want to tell, go. Like, you know what I mean? Don't complain about X, do ABC, right? So
absolutely. I saw a clip of Jason Alexander
right?
saying that, like, anybody today, make your own movie. You've got a camera on your phone. Just shoot stuff, create stuff.
This is the thing. Yeah. There's absolutely, it's fucking hard. Like, it is so hard. And like, I'm not diminishing music in any way, shape, and form. I think music saved my life, period. End of story. But it is the idea of like grabbing a guitar and playing a song and then posting that thing is different than trying to shoot something with like lighting and camera movements and things happening. You know what I mean?
You
like,
need other people. Like it's how am I going to do this?
Yeah, it's very much a team effort. And I'm not saying that music isn't. I'm just saying that I understand. Believe me when I tell you, I understand it's fucking hard to shoot, be creative, shoot something. Doesn't matter what it is. Can be on an iPhone, can be on a fucking VHS recorder, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just keep going. If that's what you need in your life in order to feel fulfilled, is to like tell stories, create. Just figure out how to do it.
That's what I tell
everybody. And yes, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard, but keep going.
Yeah, that's why I call myself Spark the Genius, because I want to spark the genius in people. Like if you feel like you want to tell a story or draw something or model or act, don't put yourself down. Don't say, oh, there's other people that are better. It's like, just do it. Put it out there. Even if it's crap, which it can't be, because it is what it is. You know, it is.
Yeah.
But it'll inspire other people. Go, oh, they're doing it. I can do it too, right? It's always, I've got a feature film that I wrote, and I'm at the very early pre-production stages of it right now. Fortunately and thankfully, I've got a bit of a team that's as ambitious as I am to get this made. So I'm very excited to move forward on that. But it was like shooting the proof of concept and everything for that. The short film essentially for it was like my directorial debut, if you will. And I got the advice to shoot my manager was actually like, put together a proof of concept. Jessica Martins?
Yes, correct. She's like, you know what? Put together a proof of concept. Let's see where it goes. And I know exactly what she was doing. She was basically like, you need to produce, direct, you need to be at the helm in order to understand what you're actually getting yourself into. And the only way you can actually know what you're getting yourself into is by just doing.
Yes.
Like you were saying, with like, it doesn't matter if it's shit, it doesn't matter if it's a work of art, none of this matters. Just get hands on, right? It's like learning how to drive. Like, you can study in a book how to drive. It's not going to be the same as actually driving.
You can read a book about push-ups, but you're not going to get into shape until you do them.
That's right. You got to do the dumbbell curls.
Yeah. It's so true. Just do it. And that's the only way to learn. Like, you hear about these bloggers that start a cooking blog, and as they do it, they're like, oh, I'm somebody who teaches people how to blog or whatever. And then you become this huge podcaster. How would you like to see the Canadian entertainment industry change in the future?
It's funny that you asked that. I've been thinking about this a lot recently, with sort of like with COVID and with the writer-actor strike in the US, and like how the blast radius of the things that have been happening over the last 5-6 years, how that sort of impacted us and like how we're sort of like we're still kind of weeding through like the fodder of it all. And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this, kind of having some conversations about it, and it would just be really, it would be really nice if we all, like as far as Canadians and Canadian content goes, we sort of grab the bull by the horns and created, like you were saying, and getting the backing that we need from the people who want to see us thrive on our own versus feeling like we're like attached to the US by some sort of umbilical cord.
Everybody always says, oh, you know, the Americans, they're just so much better at producing content in films and TV, and we could never compete. I don't understand. What, are they better at pointing a camera at something? Are they better writers? They're nothing. I mean, a lot of Canadians go there. Like, I don't see why we can't compete on, you know?
Yeah. I think I know where you're going. If I had to, oh my God, with the risk of being wrong, I think we don't take enough risks.
Yeah.
I think that we have to be bold. I think that we have to, I like, you know, pardon me for saying it, but I think that we have to risk being offensive. Do you know what I mean? We have to risk telling a joke that may or may not come off the way that, you know, we hope it would, and maybe it just doesn't land. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I mean, like, stand-up comedians are a great example. Sometimes you fucking bomb, and sometimes you crush, and that's sort of why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? They do it for the rush of succeeding and the fear of bombing, right? And I think that we are not bold enough. We are
politically correct. Yeah.
I don't know if politically correct is the right word. I just like it.
If you're just trying to be safe, I wonder if some of it too is that Canadian content seems like it only exists because it sort of needs to serve a certain purpose. Like, we need to highlight this community or this social cause or something. Whereas Americans might be more like, we're just going to make a cop show because it's cool or it's interesting to watch. So are we hurting our own entertainment value by everything sort of has to have a message or something? Like, I think of Canadian film, and I think of Meatballs, and like, why am I still referencing a movie from the 80s? Like, surely we've done something.
I mean, like I was just having this conversation recently. It was like, if you take the most successful Canadian shows, for example, you take like Letterkenny, you take Corner Gas, you take Trailer Park Boys, they all risk being offensive.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean?
True.
Like, they were pretty bold, and I find that like I'm you know, I the first few years of my, like the first decade or so of my life, I grew up in Berlin, but the one thing that I learned about Canadians, we like a good fucking joke, and we like bold content, and sometimes we like doing, you know what I mean? Like, I think we don't give Canadians enough credit where credit is due. I think that the media, and I think that our broadcasting studios, and I think that the people who are creating content are not giving Canadians the pat on the back that they deserve, the content that they would really like. I think that we're playing it very, very tame. And I mean, like Working Moms is a good example of somebody who sort of like pushed the envelope in a sense. Like, you know, they had bare breast. Episode 1, it was like episode 1, scene 1 or something like that. Bare breasts on CBC.
Really, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I should watch this.
Yeah,
show.
and it was it's like your new favorite show.
Yeah, I love Working Moms.
But I don't, like, I maybe would have said politically correct a couple of years ago, but I think it's just that we're scared to say the wrong thing. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is take the risk and potentially say the wrong thing. And you know what? Like, sometimes you have to apologize for something. Sometimes you have to, you know, whatever, you have to adjust course, you have, you know, adjust the sails, whatever the case may be. But I think that what we're missing is content that Canadians can really get behind. You know what I mean? Like, we had some really, really great content back in the day, and I think that we were going into a good trajectory. And the only thing that I can see from where I'm sitting in my chair, and I could be wrong, and tell me if I am, but like the only thing that sort of shifted Canadian content into a direction where we're not currently understanding it is we're just not taking risks. We became very tame. We became, you know what I mean? Like something that I think we deserve better. I think that there's a lot of, I've worked with a ton of Canadian crew. We have the ability. I've worked with Canadian writers. We have the words. I've worked with Canadian filmmakers and Canadian actors. We have the talent. We have what it takes to create great content. I just don't think that we have the support that we need to take risks.
I wonder if that's because a lot of the places where things screen, like CBC, or you get your funding from Telefilm, like it's all sort of government related, and so that's going to be naturally a place with less risk. You don't want controversy. It's got to be family friendly, like, other than the boobs on Working Moms, I guess. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I wonder where the U.S. does Hollywood get funding, or do they just do it based on, well, we think this will make money? And could that change now that YouTube is a big source of content? Maybe we don't need to air things on CBC, so you're making something for the internet. Go to town.
Potentially, yeah. And like, listen, I don't want to say anything against CBC because they've hired me many times and they have been known to take risks, like with Working Moms, for example. I just think that we're afraid to hurt people's feelings, and I think that I don't want to say people want to have their feelings hurt, but I think that we should take a risk and allow people the opportunity to decide for themselves. Do you know what I mean? I think that a lot of the stuff that, like, so for example, there's shows that are currently the shows and films that seem to be doing really, really well right now are like, so for example, Maverick was a great example of something where people were like, awesome. Do you know what I mean? Like they took a risk at bringing a film back that many years after it, but it was a classic back then. Let's see if we can do something similar. You've got shows that are, you've got shows like Narco. It's like very like crime thriller. You got crime capers. You got stuff that pushes the envelope. You know what I mean? You got stuff that has the potential for being offensive, controversial. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, who doesn't have something to say about cartel movement and so on and so forth? They make shows about it. Yeah. And I just think that if Canada took risks like Trailer Park Boys or like, Letterkenny or Shoresy, and potentially could say the wrong thing, I think that they would find that Canadians are very resilient. I think that we have a lot of fucking talent. And I think that they should trust us to make the content that this country deserves. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think there's no excuse for us to not be just doing our own thing now. Like, it used to be, I need a film camera.
Exactly.
When I was in high school, I filmed things with a VHS camera with my friend. We had to edit it on 2 VCRs, or a VCR and a camcorder. It was ridiculous. But now we've got a 4K phone right here. Let's write a trailer park. I want to see Dennis Andres making the shows you're talking about. Just say, here, look, here, we've got 10 grand. We're going to, we're going to make a little thing and just get people together. And Trailer Park Boys, you could see how that could just be filmed with a phone or something. And then maybe as it gets more popular, you up but I think Hollywood, they've got the money for CGI and all that, but I don't find that interesting. I'd rather see two people talking shot with a phone in a park if it's a cool story and cool dialogue, right? So...
Yeah, excuses. There's absolutely something to be said about how far we've come, as far as like tech and innovation, special effects and stuff like that goes within film. I'm not robbing anybody of their creativity and storytelling, but it's not what it has to be in order for us to tell a great story and to entertain people and to do a great job doing it. And like I said, like, Canadians are very collaborative. They're the first people that'll passionately come forward and be like, yeah, let's do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think Canadians are super scared as well, because it seems like every time, like, like with tariffs, with the potential for like the 100% tariff on anything like film, TV related, that sort of like entertainment related, or you get a strike somewhere else and we're like shaking in our boots. Yeah, and I think that we sort of have to do what I kind of like. I'm pumping up my tires here, but like I think that in talking to you now, I think that Canada I think that the entertainment industry within Canada, the people who support it, the people who create, the people who are a part of it, I think that we sort of have an obligation to, I guess, not necessarily like disconnect the tether, but like create a new port that we can thrive regardless of what's happening somewhere else. I think international relations are super important. You know what I mean? I think working together is more important than, focusing on just yourself. But I think that for the people who are in the entertainment industry in Canada, we want to know that we can put food on the table regardless of what's happening somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
this is where I'm like,
on a macro scale, like what you were saying, you don't want to be at the mercy of other people casting you. You're going to start writing your own stuff. The country should be that. We shouldn't be at the mercy of, I hope they come and shoot the next Batman here. Write your, your own thing.
Yeah.
I have
Canadian
an idea.
Canadian actors shouldn't feel like, they're auditioning me because they have to. Do you know what I mean? Canadian actors should feel like, you know what? I feel confident. Yeah. And that's the worst feeling in the world for us.
Yeah. No, I've got an idea for a show. It's about like this kid who plays football, but he gets some concussions and he winds up in the drama program and becomes a reluctant musical theater star and musical film star and everything. And it's and maybe he's got a little entourage or something with like some bald guy that follows him around.
Who's a chatter, like they're both chatterboxes who don't know when to when to call
they start a
day.
podcast and that blows up.
yeah, exactly.
All right, 2 questions left. If you had a wish list, who would you like to work with in the future, and who are your mentors and why?
It's funny that you mentioned that. If I could work with anybody right now, I love Guy Ritchie. I think that guy just makes like the top shit. You know what I mean? Like
Is
the guy
he still married to Madonna?
No, he's not married
That's
to
long
Madonna
gone.
anymore.
Okay,
that's long gone. Yeah, you just showed your age, buddy.
Yeah, that's
usually it's me.
Madonna's still making Like a Virgin, right? That's her latest album. I don't know.
yeah. That's right. Supertramp is still top 10, right?
Yeah.
So if Guy Ritchie gave me a call tomorrow, I would be one happy camper.
We'll tag him on Instagram with a little clip.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
exactly. I recently read this thing. What was the second part of the question? I want to make sure.
Who are your mentors and why?
Who are your mentors and why? I
guess you've talked a lot about your mentors.
Yeah, like in a sense, but it was also. It's not so much the mentors, whereas like, it's the wording and the phrasing that they use that sort of resonate with you most, I guess. I heard this thing. It was I'd be butchering it. I got to pull it up.
Give me a rough version and I'll Google it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like sort of like kill off all your mentors because there's no such thing as like an adult. If you take Friedrich Nietzsche.
Oh, Jesus.
Friedrich Nietzsche is like if you take somebody like Friedrich Nietzsche, for example, he lost his virginity in a brothel, got syphilis, and only ever saw 300 of his writings actually sold before he passed away. And if you take a look at like Steve Jobs, apparently when he was diagnosed with his disease, he prolonged treatment for like a carrot juice cleanse or diet or something like that. So you take a look at some of the wildest people who kind of fall under this you know what I mean? Like this mentor category. And you're kind of like, we're all sort of imperfect. And we all have our flaws and we all have our, like our ups and downs. We all have like these unbelievable quotes that we use to kind of like help propel us into this better version of our future. But we all fuck up. We all make mistakes. You know what I mean? So it's like this, I think Matthew McConaughey said something to the effect of like look up to like the version that's 10 years ahead of who you are. Like the 10-year-old version of you, use that as like your litmus test or your thermometer or whatever you will to like sort of like just be better all the time. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? As
yeah.
opposed to,
Dean Graciosi
yeah,
says that. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. Are you getting better?
yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I looked up Kill Your
But
Mentors. But
I
yeah,
could pull it up if we have a second.
sure, yeah.
I
Um,
don't want to I don't want to butcher it, but I kind of
well, I just says the phrase "kill your mentors" is used in a figurative way. The idea that one may need to distance themselves from or even reject the advice or guidance of their mentors in order to forge their own path and find their own voice. So it might be just a popular thing, but that's what I've realized lately too. Like nobody knows what they're talking about. Kill your darlings. That's a different one. Um, like yeah, unless you're like a surgeon or something, you've learned a specific skill. I find that politicians don't know what they're doing. Like I run for office a lot, and I've realized nobody. I was giving advice to another politician. How do I do a debate? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I just figured it out myself. Like, nobody knows anything.
Sort of it.
Yeah.
If you can take some of the most successful people in the back like full circle back to Schwarzenegger. You take a guy who's become the biggest bodybuilder to have like ever existed. Sorry, Lou. You take Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's become top in his field in bodybuilding. He's become a governor of a state
California,
that he's not, of California, that he's not even like native to. You know what I mean? Like film, movie, like highest paid action star at the time. You take this and you're still like, dude, you're imperfect and you made mistakes. And like, how do you hold somebody like that on a pedestal?
Right.
When like that's just not your fucking path. You know what I mean? It's not what you're supposed to be doing. And then like back to like the first question where it's like you like what would you say to somebody who's kind of like navigating your path? Forge your own. Forge the one that works for you.
Yeah.
And like I don't know that like having a mentor is the answer when technically speaking, like a lot of these like people that we look up to, they kind of fucked up along the way too, and which you will too, and you know what I mean, and which is like the point of the whole thing, right? And it's when you do, be better and fix it, and just try to be better. Just do what you can to be better, because at the end of the day, we're none of us are getting out of this unscathed. You know what I mean? Do the best version that you can for yourself, because I find like what I've sort of noticed is like if you do spend too much time looking up to somebody who like, oh, they were a millionaire at this age and I'm already older than that.
Yeah.
Like what what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like
it's not helpful.
I'm not saying it's not it's not, you just feel less than because they did it then. And then you get the other people that are like, well, they didn't do it until they were 64. And you're like, well, I don't want to wait that long either. Yeah. And so this is it. It's like, honestly, at the end of the day, if you're going to do anything, in my opinion, find the people that you'd like to work with, that you think you would align with on a creative level very well. Mm-hmm. And then just be a better version, a more well-rounded version, a more knowledgeable version of yourself every day. And imagine what, like, so for example, when I take a look at like 25-year-old Dennis who's starting versus this Dennis now, I've noticed that like I hit milestones along the way to where I am now, but like I didn't like celebrate any of these. You know what I mean? Like any of these like goalposts that I had set for I didn't celebrate any of them. Why? Because by the time I fucking got there, I was already thinking about over here.
Yeah.
Like the goalpost has shifted so far that like forward momentum, bettering yourself as a person, give back as much as you can.
Yeah.
And try to be the person that people count as like somebody who should be your mentor. And then remind them that they should be their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's that seems to be the way it is for me recently. Is like I used to have that where you like look up to these people and you're like, wow, I want to do that. And it's like, first and foremost, all of the people that I use, I'm not anywhere where they are at their time, day, and age, whatever you want to call it. Like my path has been so different in so many ways. Even if it's close, it's still different. So it's like use other people's like, I guess like words of wisdom as like soft guardrails on your own path. but I don't know that it actually serves you any purpose sort of comparing your future to someone else's road. And I think that like anybody who's gotten there would say the same thing, right?
Yeah. Uh-oh. I don't know if this is my computer or your internet. You've just frozen here. So hopefully you'll come back.
Hello?
Are you moving?
Josh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm oh, there we go.
All right.
I had full bars the whole time. For some reason it booted me out. I apologize.
I don't know. Maybe it's a StreamYard issue, but I've been asked by the powers that be to help them edit that part out. So we're back. Dennis froze. He was on some epic rant about being your own mentor.
I was,
and all mentors would advise you the same thing.
To wrap up my thought before I get kicked off again somehow. To wrap up my thought, strive to be the person you hope to be, as opposed to comparing yourself to somebody you've never met, will never meet, don't care to be. Be you.
Yeah. I
love
that.
You.
And I think even it's maybe Mel Robbins or Kathy Heller who talks about that too. Like just in terms of becoming that person, just do the things that you think that person would do. If that person gets up at 7 a.m., goes to the gym, then do that. If that person sits with his laptop and edits his video, and then you'll become that rather than like, how do I be that? Just you control what you do every day. Do the things that person would do, right? Rather than begging other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. If like so for example, I love the idea of being somebody who gets up at 4 a.m. and crushes. I love the idea of being that guy. And if I get up, I love being up at that time, but good luck getting me up at 4. That's the issue that I have, right? So it's like, okay, what can I do that works for me, that's going to make me an effective, better version of me tomorrow or even today? Do you know what I mean? So that's sort of where I'm going with this. Is like, but yeah, if you're like, hey, listen, I watch these people do this, this, and this, and this. Let's see if that works for me, or let's see if that's something that's going to help me get to this point, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't care how hard you try to be the next Warren Buffett. You're not going to be the next Warren Buffett. You're going to be that version of yourself.
Yeah.
And people are never going to be like, oh, that person was the up and coming Warren Buffett, the next Warren Buffett. They're going to be like, no, that person is that person that did a really fucking good job.
Yeah, and don't put, Gary Vee says this too, don't put pressure on yourself to be like, I got to do what that person's doing. Like, there's no one right answer for anything. Like, they say, oh, don't check your phone first thing in the morning, get some, and he's like, well, I check it first thing in the morning because I run international companies. I need to see what happened overnight. So he's not stressed that, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. Like, do what works for you. I was trying to go to bed at 9. I was like, it just never happened. And then I was seeing a talk by a sleep expert recently. He said, no, even 9, people are still, that's too early to go to bed. Around 10, you start winding. I'm like, oh, great. So even my body was saying, no, you don't need to be doing this, even though Brian Johnson, as the Netflix show Don't Die, is like, oh, I go to bed at 8:30 or whatever. It's like, if it doesn't quite fit, just feel good with what you're doing. And every day's a new day. And these days, you can go viral on TikTok tomorrow. You don't have to be like, oh, I should have started 20 years ago to be a stand-up comedian. Because, no, you could start it today and get big. And even if you had gotten big then, you'd still be this age now. You'd still just have today. So enjoy that journey today. Don't be like, oh, I wish I'd been in Hollywood. So just, it's all exciting time. And they're probably going to cure death anyways. So we've got forever. So let's just keep enjoying it.
There you go.
You look a bit like...
well, that's it, right? But
I was going to say, you look a bit like Chris Evans with your beard, like when he's bearded Captain America. That just sort of hit me. I don't know.
I'll take it. Yeah. No, I love what you said. I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome advice, and I think that rings as true as it can possibly. And honestly, I think it's like the less you stress about it, and the more you just do, because you love doing it. The more likely it'll happen. What is it? Luck favors the prepared.
Yes, they all say that. Like, you'll be at a party and you'll meet some producer. If you've got the script or you've got your, go check out my web series, I've done it. You've got something to show them. You have to be prepared for that moment. But if you're just like, I'm just trying to network, and they're like, well, what do you, I don't know, can you cast me in something? Like, that's not it. Just be ready for when it happens, or just enjoy doing it, especially creative stuff. If you enjoy acting, you enjoy doing music, that's the process. It's not whether Hollywood goes ding, you make $1 million for it, So it's all good. So this is great. Well, stay tuned to Dennis. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say, in a nutshell, it's like if you're doing it If you're doing it for the fame and the accolades, it'll likely never happen.
No.
But if you're doing it because you love doing it, that's when it'll likely happen.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't, you make money as a waiter, but you're still making art. It's the process. You love it. That's why Jerry Seinfeld still makes commercials or Clint Eastwood is still they don't need the money. They do it because they love doing it. And even if you're Dustin Hoffman, now you see him going, nobody's writing roles for old people now. Like, even he can't get work. Or Val Kilmer. At the end, he was like having to sell reproductions of his Tombstone hat and sign his art because he was running out of money. So even if you were Batman, you could still have hard times. So, we've all got bad things to go through and everything. So, anyway, sorry for
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah,
I couldn't
it's
agree
all
more.
good. Thank you, Dennis Andres. Thank you for your time. Thank you to the audience for investing your time into this. And we have to remind the audience to go watch Juliet and Romeo. And we get to see Dennis tackle Romeo, which is worth the price of admission alone.
Yeah, and Paris doesn't speak nearly as much as I do on this podcast, so there you go.
Oh, right. So if you're sick of Dennis talking, this is the perfect movie for you. There's much less of it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for watching Entertainment 411 and supporting Canadian entertainment industry and all of that. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.